So for chapter 5, I decided to answer question 1, question 4, and question 6. The author refers to contextual frames as an essential part of understanding the context of any given situation. Page 134. Contextual frames are the order in which we communicate with others. It's how we talk to people within different contexts and situations. These frames are used as guidelines for a variety of conversations that could take place. Humans tend to talk in ways that are required or expected given the type of talk exchange in which we perceive ourselves to be involved. Page 134. So for example, if you are at a job interview and you have a different contextual frame than being at a bar with your friends. I know when I'm at a job interview and they ask me what my hobbies are that I like to do outside of work, I'm not going to say drink twisted tea on a boat, but it would be appropriate to say in front of my friends. At least that is what I got from the example on page 135 about yelling the same phrase in a courtroom. That would be that you would yell at a football game. This is because each has their own contextual frame. We have two different face considerations. One is positive and one is negative. The positive face is focused on our desires to be accepted and recognized as valuable members of a community. Page 155. Whereas a negative face is the exact opposite of the positive, this form of face values autonomy and allowing a person to do and accomplish what they wish to do. Page 155. I think the face is seen in the example of language exception on chapter 4 on page 113. The text says, "One Saturday morning I entered the kitchen where my parents were talking in Spanish. I did not realize they were talking in Spanish, however, until at that moment they saw me. I heard their voices change to English, and those gringo sounds they uttered startled me, pushed me away. In that moment of trivial misunderstanding, the profound insight I felt in my throat twisted my unsounded grief. I turned quickly and left the room, but I had no place to escape with Spanish. Rather than putting on his positive face and have his desires be met and be recognized as a valuable member of his family community, he did the opposite, leaving him with the negative face. In my personal experience, I have used the face many times to avoid conflict. Rather than fight for someone to value my thoughts and feelings, to hold that positive face, I will avoid potential conflict by not pointing out why I believe they are wrong, because there is a lack of cultural understanding, so I put my negative face on, allowing the person to do what they wish." Language and thought seem to be one of the most important ideas in the text when it comes to presenting itself as a huge barrier in verbal communication. Page 158 even says language is often equated with culture, such that if a person, group loses the ability to speak a traditional language, they may be viewed as having lost their culture. That phrase alone shows how crucial a language barrier can be when communicating between cultures. This barrier has affected me personally while traveling. When I went to Mexico, I struggled with communicating with taxi drivers, bartenders, groceries, clerks, etc. I saw that even making a connection with them was hard, but an American who spoke Spanish developed a better connection with the people we met. For chapter 6, I answered question 1, question 2, and question 6. Nonverbal communication influences communication or conveys some sort of message to us but is not the actual words of our language. Page 168. They work as repetition of a verbal message, contradicting our verbal messages, expressing our thoughts and emotions, and emphasizing them. Pages 168 to 169. I experienced the repetition of nonverbal communication while working and talking to kids when I'm saying 5 more minutes and hold up 5 fingers on my hand. I have experienced the contradiction when I have said I am fine, but my face shows that I'm not. And lastly, I have experienced complimentary when I am giving my children a hug and saying I love you. 3 more examples of nonverbal communication and how they worked in my life are regulation, accentuation, and substitution. Regulation is explained to help us regulate the flow of verbal communication on page 169. I have experienced this firsthand when having one-on-one discussions with a new employer about a job and nodding my head as confirmation that I understand what is expected of me. Accentuation is explained as emphasizing a verbal message and bring increased meaning to what has been said. Page 169. I have experienced this because when I am talking to my children about something serious they should have not done, I get down on their level, hold their arm, and create eye contact to emphasize the importance of what I am telling them. Substitution is explained as a simple gesture that can allow someone to know they did a good or lousy job. Page 168. I have experienced this firsthand because while asking kids at work questions during story time about the book, I will have them give me a thumbs up or thumbs down for a yes or no instead of blurting out answers because that can tend to be very loud. I think living environments and clothes we wear impact how we communicate across cultures because we may not know how to approach them. Speaking from personal experience, if someone dresses a little more outrageous than the average person, I feel like I'm going to have a unique experience talking to them. I think this question ties in with the stereotyping. If someone's wearing floral baggy pants and Birkenstocks with dreads, or a woman wearing heels and carrying a Louis Vuitton purse, then I'm going to talk to them differently than someone just wearing a sweater and Vans because the clothes they wear speaks to their culture and we might have different norms.